Hi everyone, welcome to The Brief. I am Sanam Siddiqui.
I'm Dheeraj Gupta.
Since this is the first episode of The Brief, we'll briefly tell you what it's about.
But before we start, we hope everyone's home and everyone's safe. What is it about, Sanam?
So, The Brief is bringing legal news and laws decoded to you.
Well, over here we'll try and simplify the laws, make you aware of certain rights and your liabilities in case they arise. And let's see, we'll take it forward from there and hope we'll be able to simplify the laws for you.
So today's episode is on shared working spaces and whether those agreements make a license or a lease. Dheeraj and I will be opposing counsels and we'll leave it up to you, the audience, to decide whether it's a lease or a license.
What is a lease? What is a license? What is the difference between the two? Are shared working spaces leases or licenses? What if your working spaces state that it's a lease? And do you have to pay for the time you could not use the services? And what are your rights if you've already paid? So, shall we begin, Sanam?
Absolutely.
So, whom are you representing?
I'm representing the licensees.
I'll be representing the company, that is the company which has given the co-working space on lease.
You mean license?
We'll see.
Why is it a license? Well, because of certain things. The first one being that I've only been given a permission to use somebody else's property for a specific purpose. I'm only given a small designated space and the rest is shared by other people. Who are these other people? These are other people, other companies that are working on the same floor that have their also offices in the same spaces, in the same building. I can be removed from this license agreement at any point in time, depends on the owner. I don't have any in the property. I've never gotten an interest in the property. It's basically akin to getting a hotel room.
Oh, well, as far as I'm concerned, my client gave you a space, a designated cabin, a designated computer, if I may, maybe a printer. Along with that, my client has also offered you a chef, a housekeeper, and other services at the premises. And now you turn back and say that your client is not liable to pay.
Well, I hadn't said that yet, but yes, my client is not liable to pay. It's the same thing. In a hotel, also, I'm given a chef, I'm given the services of food. Like I said, sometimes these come in packages. I can buy a hotel room with the breakfast included, in which case I'm also getting food. I get people to clean my room. I get maybe services such as spas, coffee maker in the room. There are certain times multiple other things given in the room like TV and satellite. So that doesn't, just because I'm given a hotel room key doesn't make it a lease. I have not gotten any interest in the hotel room, and similarly in this co-working space I have not got any interest in the space. I'm merely one of the many people utilizing these services for a license fee.
But then I'm not a hotel, am I? I'm a working space. You come there, you utilize the premises for your own purposes to run your business. Now that you are unable to run your business, you bring it upon my client that we are unable to provide you services, is it?
That's not true actually, because your client was not in any position to give me these services. Is it not true that when I go to a restaurant, I can order from the menu? That's my choice. Let's say I've decided to order something that the restaurant is in no position to give to me or to serve me. Do I still have to pay for those services? No, I do not. That's the same thing here. And why I gave a hotel example is because it can be directly juxtaposed along with a lease deed for an apartment. Let's say I've got a registered lease deed for an apartment that I'm living in. Nobody can expel me from that place before termination, before the lease expires. That's the main difference in a lease and a license.
Well, to take your example forward, whatever the traditional types of leases, you would have a lease for a residential accommodation, you would have a lease for a commercial accommodation, you would ordinarily have a lease for a retail space, and other kinds of leases. But then, because it was becoming expensive for people to rent out these spaces, we came up with a concept wherein the people could use shared working spaces, come together on the same floor, and we'd give you a space on lease, and you could work together.
You're absolutely right. It was very convenient, but that's like saying that I have to pay for services that I wasn't given. Till this time I was being given these services, I was happy. I did not say I didn't want to pay. I simply stated that for the time that you can't give me services, I should not be liable to pay for that particular time. And that's the difference in a lease and a license. Because in a lease, like you rightly said, I can take commercial property on lease as well. But in that case, the guard who is standing outside, let's say I've taken a jewelry store on rent, the guard who's standing outside the jewelry store cannot stop me from entering that property. But in this case, the guard, by these shared working spaces that they get, he can stop me from entering the property. So I may be given a key to my small cabin, but it doesn't matter as long as the guard doesn't allow me to enter.
Well, I'll come to that question later, but the fact of the matter is, no, I don't recall your client ever having been stopped or being hindered in their movement or to the access. That is one. Second, your client has been happily using the space. Third, your client never objected to taking the key, and I'm sure it was your client's intentions to take it on lease and not on license.
In fact, you're right. It was never my client's intention to take it on lease because of the fact that I always knew I was never going to get an interest in the property. That was always the intention from the very beginning, that I have only been given services which include usage time of a conference room and maybe multiple other amenities. But these are services that I wanted to get. I didn't want to enter into a lease agreement because of all the reasons that you stated. It's easier to enter into a license agreement.
Well, then unfortunately, your client entered into a lease agreement. It did not enter into a license agreement. It did take a specific space on rent. It did take a cabin on rent. It did avail the services that we were providing, all at a separate cost because they're additional services. Your client also used the fixture and fittings provided in the cabin to their own benefit without any demur or without any reservations.
The same way that a hotel provides me these fixtures doesn't mean that it makes it a lease. It's as simple as that. If my client had wanted to enter into a lease, then the guard would be the one that I, as a client, had hired. My guard would never not allow me to enter. And as you said, has this happened? Yes, very recently, in fact. After India went on lockdown, 25th of March, I tried to go, but these guards wouldn't let me in because they stated that the co-working space did not have permission to allow me to enter. So yes, actually, I was not allowed to enter these premises very recently. And that is my point. Why should I pay for the time when I was not allowed by you to use your services? I never said I wouldn't pay for everything else.
Well, it is implicit in every agreement, sometimes explicit as well, that the parties will abide by the laws. At that time, the law was that I cannot allow you to enter for certain purposes, which were that you weren't providing essential services. So you can't blame my
Kindly,
but then extending that proposition, you wouldn't have been allowed even if you had a standalone office or a standalone retail shop, unless you were providing essential services. So I'm no different from a commercial or retail space in that sense. Then
that's the point here actually, and that's the reason the intention of my client was always to enter into a license agreement and not a lease agreement. I agree, what happened is devastating for most people, but simply because another's misfortune was to enter into a lease agreement and he has to pay doesn't mean that because I entered into a license agreement I have to pay for the time. You've admitted that you could not permit me to enter or utilize these services.
to call my lease agreement a license agreement doesn't make it a license.
Well, you're right, because the basic difference between a lease and a license is possession. And we have already established that I was not in possession because of the fact that a guard can stop me from entering those premises.
Well, that guard was acting in the same way a guard would have acted in a mall. Even if you had a shop there, the mall owner could not have allowed you to enter unless you were providing essential services. So the mall owner was also precluded by an ordinance or by a circulation, by a notification of a government. How am I any
That's
different?
true. Our owner also enters into certain license agreements and lease agreements. What other people have entered into does not change the fact that there are certain characteristics of a license and there are certain characteristics of a lease. And the basic difference in a lease and a license is possession, exclusive possession, which I do not have. I only have a permitted right. So I don't know about the malls, and I'll give you a very legal answer to that. It will depend on the facts and circumstances of the case. I can't make a blanket statement that none of them are licenses, because it's very well possible some of those agreements are licenses and some are leases.
Oh, well, we can't identify them, but then, well, is your client with us? Let us see, what did she intend?
Yes, I'm here.
Ask a few questions to your client.
Yes, of course.
If you can just tell us, when did you lease out the property of my client?
We leased it in November.
So you've been continuously using the property since November of 2019.
Yes,
Can you describe the space that was offered to you?
it was a small cabin,
How many people could enter that cabin?
2 to 3.
Only your employees.
Yes,
Did you have a key to that cabin?
yes.
At any point of time, did my client interfere with your possession?
When they would not let us in if we're not allowed, for example, now with the lockdown.
No, that I'm asking before 25th of March 2020.
No,
Any problems with my client?
no.
Right. The fact of the matter is that your client, is not permitting me to enter my property or to enter your property.
I have a few more questions. Would you expect every citizen of the country to follow the rules and regulations of the government?
Yes, that's my expectations, but they don't.
Okay, so do you believe in this case, after the 25th of March, we were only following the government rules and regulations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, Sanam.
I definitely have some questions for you as well, but before that, I must thank my opposing counsel for admitting that they were not able to provide me services for a certain point in time. Thank you. So, Miss Anonymous, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How many people are on the same floor as you? Are there many other companies, or is it just you guys?
No, there are a number of other companies.
And every single space that you're using, is it under your lock and key?
No,
A small cabin is under your lock and key, and there is nobody else that has a copy of that key?
shared working space does. They use it to clean or to do any maintenance.
So you mean to say that they do use it on a daily basis?
Yes, they do.
And what about the other amenities you were describing? Are they being given exclusively to you?
No, nothing is exclusive.
So you mean to say that so can you use the conference room anytime you feel like?
No, you have to book it and pay extra.
You mean to say you have to ask for permission?
Yes, you have to book it.
And you have to pay extra for that?
Yes, either through your credit system or some other system that they have.
Right. So you mean to say it's similar to a hotel where you can also use certain other amenities with an added cost?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. And is it possible that the guard there will disallow you from entering?
If he has or she has orders to do so, yes.
You mean to say you can't give that guard orders?
No, I cannot.
He answers to somebody else.
Yes, he does.
And is it a transferable contract that you have? Tomorrow, can you just simply give it to another person?
No.
So it is a personal contract. If the person who owns that space decides to sell it, he can kick you out anytime. Is that true?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
All right. So tell me, have you ever leased out an apartment?
Yes.
Can your landlord ask you to leave at any point in time?
No. There's a notice period that we agree on, whether 2 months, 3 months, or whatever it is. And the landlord also cannot enter without giving us advance notice.
You have full control over that property. If you don't have full control of the property, how can that be a lease? The second major difference is that there can be multiple people who are in possession of the same premises as you are. That does not normally happen in a lease, which is why the hotel, as opposed to an apartment example, is a very good way to understand the difference between a lease and a license when it comes to immovable property. The last thing is that in a license, if the licensor decides to sell the property, he can. There is no encumbrance on the property. But in a lease, my agreement does not end just because the landlord decides to sell the property. My rights will carry on. It can only come to an end according to the lease deed that has been registered. And Dheeraj agrees with me now that it's a license.
Well, let no one fool you. We have prepared
A few slides so you really understand what is a lease and what is a license.
So a lease is covered by the Transfer of Property Act, Section 105 to be precise, and it reads as follows. A lease is a contract under which the owner of a property grants another person exclusive possession of the property for an agreed period in return for rent. The person giving his property on rent parts with his right to enjoy the property during the term of the lease. So as you've understood, what is requisite for a lease is an exclusive possession of the property.
License is a permission. It's simply a permission to use somebody else's property for a specific purpose. It only gives the licensee the authority to do something on someone else's property without which it would be an act of trespass. It doesn't create any interest or ownership in the property itself.
Well, the characteristics of a lease, it's a transfer of an interest in a specific property. It creates an interest in favor of the leasee. It is a transferable and heritable right. It can only come to an end in accordance with the terms and conditions stipulated in the agreement. If property is sold to a third party, lease remains unaffected.
Well, what about the characteristics of a license? There's no transfer of interest in the property. It permits the licensee to use another person's property for a specific purpose. It's non-transferable and non-heritable. It can come to an end with the whim of the licensor. And if the property is sold to a third party, the license ends immediately.
Now, what if your shared space agreement states that it's a lease?
There's a very famous quote by a judge. A cat doesn't become a dog because the parties have agreed to call it a dog.
Where it creates an interest in the property, it is most certainly a lease. Supreme Court has said it in various judgments, and one of the judgments is there on the slide. So what are shared working spaces?
Well, shared working spaces, like you said, Dheeraj, in the beginning, it's a model where many people from many different companies come together to share an office space. It allows cost savings. It's normally very convenient because you can use common infrastructure, such as equipment, utilities, the receptionist, custodial services, and in some cases, refreshments and parcel acceptance services.
Let no one tell you that your shared working space is a lease because it's a license, purely a license. Now, do you have to pay for the time that you could not use the services?
Let's say you go to a restaurant, you order something from the menu. The restaurant is in no position to serve you what you ordered, whether by a government order or not. It's simply in no position to serve you what you ordered. You pay for that order. Isn't it something to think about?
Well, Sanam also used an example of a hotel, which actually covers the situation. Don't think it's a lease at any point of time. What if you've already paid? Yes, you can fight, but the first point we would suggest is you negotiate or renegotiate your terms. Try and get them extended for the money you've already paid. If your licensor does not agree with you to renegotiate, then yes, you have a right, you must fight for it.
But I have a question for you. What about force majeure?
Well, the question of force majeure has been raised by the licensees as well as the lessees. What do you think about it?
I think that we should wait for our next episode so that we can really get into it again.
Oh, well, then we can give them a well-researched debate again.
Hope you guys are excited for episode 2 of The Brief, Force Majeure. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we have to thank our anonymous client for bringing this to our notice. Thank you so much for contacting us.
And thank you so much. We hope you guys had a lot of fun. Again, we hope you're home, you're safe. Please take care of your loved ones, especially the elders. We'll see you soon.